Total Retail, in partnership with Fidel, is proud to announce the release of its latest research report, Customer Loyalty in a Fragmented Retail Market: How Retailers Can Leverage Data to Create Long-Term Relationships with Their Customers. To download your copy of this report, go to mytotalretail.com/resources.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, I'm Joe Keenan, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm joined today by Ari Grazi, who is the co-founder and president of Indiewalls. We're going to talk to Ari today a little bit about its Indiesigns division of its business and its work with artists in creating safety signs for, commercial buildings that are reopening, such as retail stores. So thanks for joining me, Ari.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So let's start by having you briefly tell our audience a little bit about Indiesigns. And then the second part of that is, after you tell us that, is maybe talk a little bit about your professional background.
Sure. So Indiesigns is a new product that we launched, that Indiewalls launched. Indiewalls is a company that helps commercial properties buy and commission art from independent artists. So think like Google's offices or Marriott hotels. And we've always been about artist forward, ease of use, making properties beautiful. And when the pandemic hit and we started seeing stores needing to put up social distancing signage, we said this is an opportunity to leverage our artist community, follow our mission of keeping spaces beautiful, and make it much easier to use. So Indiesigns, simply put, is design forward signage with a really easy to use web e-commerce platform for stores that need to purchase signage.
And then tell us a little bit about how I mentioned that you founded the business. Want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So I started the company about 8 years ago with a good friend of mine. The initial idea is still the main goal of the company, which is to support the careers of independent artists. And we started the business because we saw these hotels, first and foremost, opening with a beautiful design and lackluster art. Same can be said about, restaurants and offices, the idea of hotel art or office art in air quotes. We said, let's help them buy better art, nicer art from real artists and make it really easy. And Indiesigns is actually a natural extension of that because we see these, stores that have a lot of effort put into the FF&E and the interior design. And now they're going to put up painter's tape on the floor or a stop sign or a Microsoft Word document. That would be such a shame. So we want to help retailers and other properties that will be opening up or reopening up have beautiful signage, design forward signs, and make it really easy to order them.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of the reopening here as we've hopefully getting on the other side of the curve here of this pandemic. We've already started to see certain non-essential retail stores start to come back into the fold. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the opportunity and kind of how your product can help some of the retailers that are beginning to reopen stores, especially as consumers are still, maybe a little reticent about going back into physical retail?
At the end of the day, safety and health is the most important. And people need to be comfortable. Both the employees of stores need to be comfortable and the customers need to be comfortable. And the business owners need to follow appropriate guidelines from the CDC. And social distancing is a big part of that, as is communicating what steps a store or a business is taking to keep their customers and employees safe. The way we look at it is if you need to communicate something to a customer, you should communicate it in a design forward way. If it's not only about making your space nicer and not, putting a handwritten sign up, but putting something well designed. We also think it's actually safer because people will respect that more. When you'll walk right over a piece of tape, but if you see a floor decal, with a really nice circular adhesive that goes right onto the floor, that has a nice graphic element, it's nice font, and perhaps just appealing colors, you're more likely to notice that, and you're more likely as a customer to respect that. And that will keep customers safer, that will keep employees safer, that will keep everyone under the kind of following the guidelines. And we believe that it will be essentially good for business and good for the whole economy to get back to hopefully humming and revving up as quickly as we can.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of the implementation of these this signage in the retail stores. Where are you seeing retailers place these decals? It's just checkout aisles as soon as they walk in the door or throughout the store, and then maybe just a little bit about specifics of the signage itself. What are the size of these decals? And as you mentioned, they're kind of artistically designed so that it's more than just it kind of beautifies the space as well.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'll address the signage and the kind of specifications first, and then I can tell you a bit about the artist program. We took a lot of feedback on what stores need and what businesses need. So masks, for example, just right out in the front, masks are required to enter this business. The floor decals where people should stand are obviously going to be placed where people are queuing up. So a checkout aisle or a front desk. And these can be placed. So we have a variety of substrates that these are printed on. Anything that's going onto the floor is printed on a material with an adhesive on the bottom. We have indoor application with low traffic, we have indoor application with higher traffic, and then we have outdoor application. So a lot of restaurants, for example, are queuing up outside for pickups. And we want them to be able to put these out in the cement, high traffic area, all weather proof. We've also been told that stores are really looking for directional signage, where people should go if they're going to come into the store to browse, where they should go if they're just picking up. So that sort of directional signage, right away, you want to be clear that you want to be clear in communicating that to the customers. We also have signs that can be installed right on the wall with either simple nails or as well a kind of peel and stick adhesive or simple double stick tape. Key here is ease of use and affordability. So we didn't want to make anything that would be, require installers or require heavy machinery. Businesses are in a really tight place right now. We want them to be able to open safely, but also not at a great expense. And you'll see on our website, Indiesigns.co, that most of the products, range at $10, $15, $20. So we're trying not to make this price exorbitant.
Yeah, and I would imagine the signage can help free up store associates, other employees inside the store that might have been needed to kind of to give direction throughout the signage is giving that direction. So then they can work on other tasks, whether it be restocking or, fulfilling online orders that are coming in or whatever the case may be. Is that some of the kind of the feedback you're getting that that signage is freeing up in-store associates to do other tasks?
Absolutely. And one of the goals is to limit the amount of interaction between people. Unfortunately, that is key here. So the more you can communicate to the customer about how their experience in that store is, what's going to look like and the expectations of them, the less they'll need to ask those questions of store employees, and the more we'll keep everybody safe and the business flowing.
So let's talk a little bit more about the design of the signage and the artist community that Indiesigns works with. Tell us why you've made it a priority to work with artists, especially those that, this has been a real struggle for artists during this pandemic. They've lost a lot of work. Why has it been important for you to kind of make that connection and give an opportunity to artists with your product?
So it has always been a mission of Indiewalls to support independent artists. And right now, artists are really financially strained because of this pandemic. So we saw this as an opportunity to sell a product that customers need and continue the flow of financial support to artists in a way that's completely for profit and not just make a donation on a GoFundMe page, though of course that is beautiful if people are able to do that. I also think it's good business. Design is incredibly important for brands across the price spectrum. And working with real artists leads to better designs and also more variety of designs. So instead of having one internal graphics team churning out designs, we have a variety of artists working on the signage. So Sephora might want a different visual aesthetic than a Home Depot. They both want something well designed, but it may be different design. So we found that we get to both support artists and give customers access to a wider variety of products and sort of create a win-win.
Do you have your own in-house artist team, or is everyone kind of working on like a contract basis? How do you find the artists that you work with?
So Indiewalls has an artist community online where artists can apply and create profiles. We have just about 4,000 independent artists that we've worked with. So when we initially launched Indiesigns, we reached out to some of the visual graphic artists that we thought would be strongest for this program. And we also have a small graphics ability internal in our team just to keep everything flowing, even as far as files and light customization, to be able to get customers what they need relatively quickly.
So one thing I wanted to point out in this whole conversation is that a portion of all the proceeds for each sign that's being sold goes to the artist that created it. So tell us a little bit about that, and why it's so important for Indiesigns to kind of be giving back. And obviously, you mentioned that's kind of been a core to the company's mission, supporting these artists who are really struggling at this point. So tell us a little bit about the giving back to those artists through the sales of these signs.
By definition, every time a sign is purchased, an artist is being paid, an artist is being supported. And we think that for many companies, that's important to them. And that might even lead them to buy an Indiesign signage over a standard sign company. We also have continued to try to support the careers of artists, and hopefully that will just lead to all different segments of our economy coming together. Because remember, when artists are supported, they're going to support the local coffee shop. They're then going to that retail store to place an order. And I think it's just better business for everyone.
Yeah, it becomes a cyclical effect.
And Joe, it's fun to work with artists.
Right. Yeah, true. So obviously there's a demand for the product right now. The social distancing guidelines, and as consumers start to come back into retail stores, to hotels, to some of the establishments that you work with, safety signage is going to be a high priority. Do you foresee the continued demand for that type of product post-pandemic as we get further down the line, and social distancing and other safety precautions, becoming part of the new normal of shopping in store?
So I do think the most important thing right now is to get the economy back on track and get customers back into stores as quickly, as safely as we can do it. So there's an immediate need for this signage. I'm not a scientist, and to be honest, I have not really watched the news for the past month and a half because it causes me too much anxiety. From what I've heard from our customers, they see certainly a near term, over the next 6 months, need for all of this sort of signage. But they also want to have some of this signage in stock in their inventory in case there is, say, a flare up in a year from now. They can quickly put down those floor decals or put up some signs where they're now requiring masks, and it doesn't take several weeks or them getting a fine before they have the proper signage. So I think there's some steps we could take, and hopefully this does calm down, where we can all be mobilized to quickly ramp back up our social distancing if necessary. I also, while I don't want to be told forever where to stand in a store, I think that there's a certain amount of precautions that would be beneficial forever. If you're not feeling well, don't come into the office. Think messaging like that right now we all have, it's been drilled into us. It's common sense. Other countries have done it successfully. And I think perhaps companies and stores will want some amount of signage or ability to communicate those messages that would be beneficial for us forever.
And do you see that there might potentially be a need? Let's take the safety part of it out of the equation. Just regular signage in store for these, big box stores, the Home Depots of the worlds, the Costco's. Just maybe directing people to, keep traffic flowing evenly, whether it's going like directing to certain products or displays. Maybe there's an opportunity there. Have you talked to kind of the retailers about that opportunity as well?
Joe, as you know from interviewing and speaking to entrepreneurs, oftentimes a company launches one product and then they hear their customer feedback and it turns into a whole conglomerate of different products. We've been approached by some of our early customers that said, hey, yes, we need the safety signage, but can you help us design wayfinding? or, their restroom plaques, any sort of signage that's needed. What we've heard from them is twofold. They don't have a great source for design forward signage, and the B2B process is clunky of the kind of incumbent signage companies. So that's our real focus at Indiesigns. We want them to be design forward, and we want it to be really easy to place an order. So absolutely, beyond safety signage, we'd like to start getting into other sorts of signage.
Yeah, it's almost to the effect that we've seen a lot of retailers launch these store-specific apps, these wayfinding apps inside to help kind of customers navigate their stores. Signage can do that, and probably, obviously, a lot less development work. You're not building out a whole new app. It's probably more economical. And to your point, it's designed forward, so it kind of beautifies the store in the process as well.
That's right. And it was actually a nice transition. I forgot to mention before, from what we were previously doing with Indiewalls, we have a production facility, and we typically are printing fine art photography, but those printers that we use in the production facility was able to use these same substrates. And we're producing these all in Brooklyn. That's another thing that people have been looking for, is like, how do we keep our supply chains here in the US? How do we support the local economy? So that's absolutely what we're doing with the signage as well.
Great. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank Ari Grazi of Indiesigns for joining us today on Total Retail Talks, telling us a little bit about how his product is helping retailers safely reopen their stores. So thanks for joining me today, Ari.
Thank you, Joe. I hope you and your team stay well and stay positive.
Yes, likewise for you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Total Retail's latest research report, Customer Loyalty in a Fragmented Retail Market, offers insights into retailers' customer retention challenges, how customer data can help address that challenge, particularly data obtained in loyalty programs, the role that card linking technology can play in creating loyal customers through the collection of transactional data, and best practices for earning customer loyalty. To download your copy of this report, go to mytotalretail.com/resources.